best car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
Yes, indeed. And we are pleased to have the owner of that fine establishment with us once again. I refer to Iven Streckel. His establishment is Frontier Motors, 230 Beverly Parkway. Could be you'd like to get the price of a car, truck, or SUV that you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in. This is the time and the place. Give us a call, 476-1007, 476-1007, or to make it a toll-free call, add 888-476-1007. Good morning, Mr. Streckel.
Hey, Don. Thanks so much for the introduction. And we are, again, doing a double format. We are on talk radio this morning, and we're also on TV for our cable subscribers. Let me turn my phone off here. It's vibrating all over the place. And we are on TV right now, so if you're going to be calling in to get a value on your car, which is what we do at the Frontier Motor Show, don't bother doing it if you're on TV. Now, if you're watching this on TV, you can call the dealership. We've got 11 salespeople and 4 managers standing by to take your calls to give you the value of the car. And the values that we use are a little bit different than you would get on the internet. I've got the internet right in front of me, and they have a couple different ways to get values based on how you chose to pull it up. One of them is the Edmunds book. One of them is a Kelly Blue book, and the other one is a consumer's version of the NEDA. And the interesting thing is that car dealerships don't use any of those. Which is kind of weird. People say, well, why don't they use it? But one of the reasons we don't use it is because our banks and our credit unions and a lot of our insurance companies in our area use an official NEDA guidebook. These are not the same as you get on the internet. Now, I don't know why they're not the same. I don't have a clue. People ask me that all the time. Are there differences in value? Sometimes there are. I've seen as much as a $2,000 discrepancy in the NEDA that the banks use, and sometimes it's actually higher, and sometimes it's quite a bit lower. So it really depends on the car that you have. The other format that we use is we use a black wholesale guidebook. And the black wholesale guidebook correlates to what's going on at the auctions. And the reason these books are very important to a car dealer is because if I can open this up just to this page, for example, and it says a 2012 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, a 1-ton, has an average wholesale of $32,000 and a clean wholesale of $35,000. I would take the middle of that and say, let's say about $33,500 is wholesale. And if the NEDA guidebook says it's got a $40,000 retail, I would say that this book is too high because the dealers don't mark up their vehicles $7,000 and $8,000. Now, don't get me wrong; they'd like to, and they have the ability to mark them up to whatever they want. But if they're going for about $33,000 at the auction, a dealer could bring it back, pay for the shipping, make $2,000 or $3,000, and sell it for somewhere around $36,000, maybe $37,000. So in that case, if this NEDA guidebook or the Edmunds or Kelly Blue book, for example, said it was worth $40,000, you'd be paying too much. And that's one of the reasons you might want to join us on the show. Is if you have decided that you're going to buy yourself a brand new car, wouldn't it be nice to know what a fair trade-in value would be on the car you're driving? And you can join us, Don said before, 476-1007, 476-1007, or if you're outside of the Pensacola area, just add an 888 to that, 476-1007. I have the books that I'm using on the internet, so it's easier for me to get a value than it would be the old way of doing it. People say, well, I don't like that internet thing. Well, I love the internet because it makes my job a lot faster. It takes me 2 minutes, on the average, 2 minutes to appraise a car on the internet. So within 1 hour, I can appraise a lot of cars. And I do this a lot in the mornings because I look at the auction, what's going there, and I have to put values on those cars. Sometimes we don't get them because other dealers bid too much. Sometimes it's private individuals that are advertising their car on eBay or Craigslist or AutoTrader or Cars.com, which are the largest websites that most people would put their vehicle on. And I make offers to private individuals and dealerships based on my appraisals that I give. And a lot of times I'll buy the cars from private individuals, and that's one of the things people are always sometimes amazed at. They think that the car dealerships hit the vehicles ridiculously low, and some car dealers do. Some car dealers will take a $10,000 wholesale car. If the auction says the car is worth $10,000, they'll appraise it for $6,500 or $7,000. And there's a couple of reasons that they do this. Number one, you never know what cash status the dealership's in. What if they don't have any money? and they have to sell that car to somebody else because let's say they have a $1 million floor plan for used cars, for example, but they're already over $1 million, and now you come with this $10,000 car. Well, you might not even know that they don't have the money to buy that car. So what they do is they appraise your car and they sell it to someone else, and they're at the mercy of whatever that we call them wholesalers in this industry, and wholesalers are something that we need. It's not a bad situation, because if you have a car that you don't have any money for, or you have a car that you don't have any want for, maybe you just don't like the car, you need a wholesaler to buy that car from you. But because of that, they take a little cut of the action, and therefore your appraisal is going to be quite a bit lower, or a little bit lower, depending on the person, than what it would be if you went to a dealership like Frontier Motors and got your car appraised for the right value. Another reason you might get a low appraisal from a car dealership is maybe they just don't want your car. Maybe they had a car sitting there. If it's a certain car that dealership had a bad taste about, maybe the last 3 of them that he had to do a lot of work to them. He had to spend $2,000 on reconditioning. Now here you come with another car just like that. He might not really want that car based on what's happened to him in the past. So you get a low appraisal for that. Another reason might be maybe that dealer already has 7 of them in stock. If you come to the lot with an F-150, for example, and some dealers are at their maximum of 5 F-150s, and you've got number 6, they might not be excited about it. Doesn't mean they won't give you a value on the car, but it's going to be a lower value than what you should get. And this comes back to what I was saying before, that if you stop in at Frontier Motors, which is located at 230 Beverly Parkway, we're outside of Car City a little bit. We did this on purpose for 17 years ago, because the property, we paid about $100,000 for a property rather than $1 million. And because of that, we were able to keep our overhead quite a bit lower. But if you stop by at 230 Beverly Parkway within a matter of a couple of minutes, I'm going to take the car around the block. I'm going to put it into my program here, and my program will spit out the wholesale, the retail, the NADA book. It'll tell me how many vehicles are available within 150 miles or 250 miles, like the one that you have, so I can assess if there's 5 of them in there that are way, way lower, then I've got to rethink my appraisal. If they're all more expensive, I might be able to go a little higher than the book, but people are pleasantly surprised that when I'm appraising the car, that I give them pretty fair value. It might not be retail, but it's going to be more than wholesale. And a lot of people say, well, if it's right in the middle somewhere and I know I'm not getting ripped off, I'll just go ahead and sell them the car. And I'm not going to make as much money on your car if I give you more than wholesale, but I'm getting a good car that I've talked to the owner. I can get the car inspected by my mechanic before I buy it, which I can't do from some of the other places I buy cars from. If you buy it at the auction, for example, you're somewhat at the auction's mercy. If they have the green light, of course, they guarantee the car, but if they got the red light on, that means you're buying it as is. And I feel a little uncomfortable buying an older used car as is without being able to even take it for a test drive. So the only cars I buy at the auction are the green light cars. So especially the older cars, anything that might be 10 years old with 70, 80,000 miles on it, these are cars I would love to buy from private individuals. And rather than you go to, let's say you're going to buy a brand new Toyota at Bob Tyler, bring us the trade and let me appraise it for you. You might be surprised that I might want the car more than them. And at least you'll use that information to make sure that if they give you a lower appraisal, you can use that information to get them to bump it up to where it should be. And I've done that before. Sometimes I'll give you a buy bid on your car. You go and look at the new car you're thinking about buying, and it helps you get the better deal. Because what happens is that, let's say I appraise the car for $10,000 and they're appraising the car for $8,000. What's going to happen is that they're going to have to reappraise that car for $10,000. And normally what happens, they end up keeping it. I never get the car. I help you get the better deal, and they just put the car on the lot and say, well, Frontier Motors is willing to pay that for it. Well, then it must be worth it. So maybe we should reassess our evaluation of that car and appraise it for what it should be appraised for, and they'll go ahead and keep the car and put it on the lot. They always, in a car dealership, I don't want to say the word always, that's a bad word to use, but a lot of times the used car manager's job is going to be to get your car for the least dollar amount that he can, because they get paid off the profit on your car. They don't get, a lot of dealerships don't pay the used car manager on the new car sale. So he could care less if he makes that deal on the new car or not. And I shouldn't say he could care less, but what his job is to not worry about the new car sale, but to get your car at a good price. Now, he doesn't want to be ridiculous about it, because he obviously still has to work with the other people at the dealership, the new car manager, for example. But I remember when I was a new car manager, I was in constant battle with the used car appraiser, because I could look at this book and say, well, it's worth $10,000. Why are you appraising it for $8,000? And one of the reasons that they'll call back, well, I knew you were going to call me and bump me anyway, so this game goes on behind the scenes, and that's why the nice thing about Frontier Motors when you come to it is there is no behind the scenes. Because not only am I selling you the car that you're looking at if you're buying a car from me, I'm also doing the appraising. So there's no back and forth. I don't have to fight with somebody in the appraisal. And if I decide your car's worth $10,000, I don't have to ask somebody's permission. And if you're looking at a $20,000 car, let's just say hypothetically I can discount it to $18,000 and then give you $10,000 wholesale for yours. That would make the balance $8,000 plus taxes. Within a matter of minutes, I can give you the out-the-door figure. I'll take the $8,000 out of the taxes on it. I'll add the county tax. I'll add the tag transfer fee, the title fee, the dock fee, and I'll circle the bottom line and say, here is what you pay out the door. Now, the easiest way to figure out if you're getting a good deal or not is you take that figure to the dealer up the road. If it's a new car, let's say I'm selling you a 2012. I'm looking at my list right now. I've got we'll use the Honda dealership, for example. We've got a great Honda dealership right here in Pensacola Honda. It's on Highway 24 in Car City. And if you're looking at a 2013 Honda CRZ, if you're not sure what that is, that's a little sporty hybrid car. I've got one on the lot with 70 miles on it. My asking price at $21,600 is really not that much difference. Actually, it's $22,500. I take it back. We're asking $22,900. I've got it on the internet for $22,500. I only think that's about $1,000 less than a brand new one. But where I'm going to shine, because for $1,000, of course, it is brand new. It's got 70 miles on it. But a lot of people say, well, if it's only $1,000, I'm going to be able to. I'll go up to the Honda dealership and buy one there. But what if I pay $2,000 more for the trade-in? What if my fees are less? What if my bottom line is a lot less because I'm not adding anything to that price? These are things that make a difference. So that even though my list price might only be $1,000 less, my out-the-door figure might be $4,000 less. And that's how I end up selling cars that are almost like brand new and end up persuading the people in our area to buy a car with very low miles on and have somebody else take the depreciation. I've got a 2013 Volkswagen Beetle. So Pete Moore is our local Volkswagen distributor. He's a great dealership over here in Navy Boulevard. And if you're going to look at a brand new Beetle, maybe they even have a 14 on the lot. I've got one with 400 miles on it, a bright red convertible. So you would compare it. Now, obviously, if my price is the same as his, I would tell you to buy the new one. That's what I would do. But what if I'm $5,000 less? I might be able to persuade you to buy one with 425 miles on it. But I'll give you the bottom line price, and then you can go to them and find out their bottom line price. And like I said, if it's within $1,000, I'd throw in my towel and say, go ahead and buy the new one. Normally, I've been doing this long enough to make sure that I do the research properly, that when I buy a car with 400 miles on it, that I'm able to beat the new car dealer's price by quite a bit. And that quite a bit is going to be determined on you. I've had one customer where I saved him $10,000 on a Lexus that was 1 year old. He didn't think that was enough money. I thought he had a screw loose, but anyways, he ended up buying the brand new one when somebody, and I think I had 3,000 miles on mine, and he thought that $10,000 wasn't enough of a savings. I thought that maybe he had fallen and hit his head, but that was a year ago, so I'm sure he's not listening anymore. 2013 Cadillac CTS. Vince Wibbs is the local Cadillac dealership. If you're going to buy a brand new one, I would suggest that you go to our local dealer. They're a great dealer, got a great service department. I've got one on the lot with 1,900 miles on it. So again, you might want to compare. And if ours is the same price as their new one, you buy from him. If ours is $5,000 or $6,000 less, you might be persuaded to buy from us. We have a 2011 Kia Sedona, which is their minivan with 2,000 miles on it. I've got a 2013 Kia Optima with 2,600 miles on it. We have a 2013 Nissan Altima that only has 2,800 miles on it. How about a 13 Volkswagen Passat with 3,200 miles on it? If you're going to go to the Ford store, how about a 2-year-old Ford Edge? I've got a 2011 Ford Edge Limited, which is the real fancy one. This one's got navigation. It's got the double sunroofs, backup camera. I think it's pearl white. Absolutely gorgeous car. It has 3,000 miles on it. So if you're going to compare it to a 13, I'm sure I should be able to save you at least $7,000 or $8,000 off of the loaded 13 model that you're looking at. I have a 2013 RX 350 with only 5,000 miles on it. If you're going to go to Lexus Mobile, that's our closest Lexus dealership. You might want to compare it to their 13 model, and it's like a burgundy color. We've got two of those. I've got a white one, and I've got a burgundy one with 4,000 miles and one with 5,000 miles. How about a 2013 Honda Civic with 4,000 miles? A Ford Fusion, a 12 Ford Fusion with 5,000 miles on it. Even got a Chevy truck truck, a 2012 Chevy Silverado extended cab. It only has 5,000 miles on it. Got a couple of really low mileage Camrys with 5,000 miles on. Hyundai Sonata with 6,000 miles. A Sportage with 6,000 miles. Hyundai Accent with 6,000. A 2012 Toyota Highlander with only 8,000 miles on. And we have one of the nicest cars on the road, or most I should say amazing cars on the road. We have a 2012 Cadillac CTS two-door coupe V model. The V means it's supercharged. This car has 8,000 miles on. It has a window sticker of $74,000. Now, here's a prime example of what I'm talking about. This gentleman bought this car brand new at $74,000, and they came out when they were hot. They were not discounting his car, so I can pretty much assure you that he paid the window sticker of the car. That car now with 8,000 miles, you can buy it for $59,900. Wheels or something like that, so it's not a real hard transition. So you could have a car that maybe is built within 2 weeks of each other, but one would be a 13, one would be a 14. So sometimes the year is a psychological thing. Well, I've got a 14, and I had a customer in the other day that wanted us to locate them 14, and I had the twin car there in a 13, and there was no difference. They didn't change the buy style. It was an ego thing. No, I want the new one. I want the 14 model. I said, well, there's a $4,000 price difference. I don't care. I want the 14 model. So we're doing a locate on 14. And of course, my job is to give a customer whatever they want, not what I want them to get. I thought it was not the smartest thing to do. Now, if there's a body style change, or if maybe there's a new piece of equipment out on the market that is a safety feature, for example, that you can't get on the 13, I can see why somebody might want to upgrade to the new model. But based on the fact there weren't any changes other than wheels and colors, it didn't make much sense to me. One of the cars to look at, folks, is that if you don't get the News Journal anymore, shame on you. Some people get it online. I still get it. I've got the business section here from 2 weeks ago, and the top car in the business section was the Impala, and they had a little write-up on the Impala, which I'm really glad to see, because I've been talking about this for the last 5 years, that domestic product has made a big improvement in their quality, and also a big improvement in customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction has a lot to do with quality. If you buy a car that's a piece of crap, you're not going to have good customer satisfaction. If the car keeps breaking down within the first year that you bought it, even though it's under warranty, it's a pain in the butt for you. And that's what used to happen years ago. I started when I was 18 years old selling cars, and I sold Pontiacs. And I'll tell you, the quality back then on General Motors was absolutely awful. They still sold them because they had high-performance cars. Remember the old GTOs, and they had the Malibus and the hot rods and everything. So but they were getting sloppy. The engineers were getting sloppy. The factories were getting sloppy. I remember the Bonnevilles coming through with Caprice emblems on them. I mean, because they built them side by side, and the quality was so bad they didn't even put the nameplates on properly. Guess what? That's changed. And right now, for the first time in 2 decades, a car built by Detroit's Big Three has bested the likes of Japan and Europe to win the top spot among sedans from Consumers Reports. Consumers Reports has never been somebody that likes domestics. But guess what? They're changing their tune. And they're changing the tune because the cars are changing. And it says that the 2014 Impala, a completely revamped model that was previously a rental fleet mainstay, scored so high in the magazine's testing that it is in the same footing as the luxury models like Lexus and Jaguar. How about that? Talking about Jaguar, they made a big turnaround too. Jaguar used to be junk. Now they got top customer satisfaction. They're rated just as high as Lexus, so they made a huge turnaround. But so has Chevrolet. Not just the Impala, that's just one of them. And so is Ford. Take a look at a Ford Fusion. If you're thinking about buying a Camry or an Altima or a Accord, take a look at the Ford Fusion and take a look at the Chevy Malibu. Those are the competitors to those other cars. And now we all know that the Honda Accord is a great car. We know that an Altima is a good-looking, great car, and so is the Camry. So I'm not really trying to talk you out of it. I'm just trying to broaden your horizons, because the domestics are now making a car that is, I think, on the same wavelengths as far as reputation and quality as you have from the competitors from Europe and from Japan. The advantage of the domestics is they're less expensive. I can sell you a Ford Fusion, and I can sell you a Malibu for a couple of $1,000s less than if you're looking at a 1-year-old Toyota and a Camry. A Camry or an Accord. And one reason is because they don't drop in price as much. That's one advantage of, actually it's a disadvantage, is because the more they drop in price, the better deal I'm going to give you. The nice thing about being Frontier Motors and being an independent dealer is that I can sell you anything. I can sell you the Toyota. So I've got, if I look at my sheet right now, I've got Toyota products. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull it out of my pocket right now. I'll tell you exactly how many Toyotas we have. So if you're thinking about buying a brand new Toyota, you might want to stop at Frontier Motors and take a look at ours. And we have a price list like this. Our salespeople have it in their pocket, and we have them available for you. So if you come on the lot, Frontier Motors, we print these out every day. And as of this morning, let me look at my inventory. I keep talking about having 300 cars. I don't have 300 cars. I have 299. So, well, that's not true. We're buying a car right now as we speak, so we're back to 300 on the head. And we look at Toyotas, and I'll give you this as an example. We have 33 used Toyotas on the lot. Now, some of these are 2013s. I sold a 2013 new body-style Avalon with 2,000 miles on Saturday. So I'm just giving you an example that when we talk about used cars, they don't have to be 8 years old with 80,000 miles on it. These cars, some of these cars are 1 year old, half-year old, current model cars. Some of them are only 6 months old, and they've got very low miles on it. So we've got a lot of, when I talk about Camrys, we have a 2012, another 2012, an 11, a 10, another 10, an 09, and 07. So that's just the Camrys alone. So if you're looking at a Camry, folks, which is a great car, I can show you that. Then I can flip you over to the Chevy Impala. I've got about 7 Impalas in stock. I think we've got 2 Malibus, Ford Fusions. I think we've got 5 Ford Fusions. We also have the Altimas lined up. And we also have the Hondas Accords and everything else that's in the middle, which is the Kia Optima, the Hyundai Sonata. They're all kind of lined up. The nice thing about coming to Frontier Motors, our 11 salespeople, they unlock every car door every morning, so that when you come on the lot, if you want to look at 7 different cars, you don't have to have that salesman get 7 different keys. So you can sit in the car, you can adjust the seat height, you can see how the dashboard fits, how the blind spots are. These are things that people look at, and it's very difficult to go car shopping in Pensacola because you have to hop from one dealer to the next to the next. We're about the only one that I know of that has all these cars lined up and unlocked, and we have a window sticker on our cars that tells you the equipment if you're not knowledgeable on equipment. Also has to give you the miles, because most cars have digital odometers, so you can't tell if it's got 75,000 miles or 7,000 miles on them. And the nice thing about it is our window sticker tells you the miles on the car, and we'll give you a price list so you'll know what we're asking for the car. Doesn't mean that we don't have a little bit of wiggle room when it comes down to it, but the nice thing about Frontier Motors is we can get that wiggle room. Doesn't have to be back and forth. I had a customer on Saturday, and I didn't know he was a professional negotiator because we gave him a bottom line price, which he asked for, and they came back and he wanted to haggle for another 2 hours. I didn't want to do that. And I was getting a little frustrated because I was trying to give him the best price right off the bat. I think I came down another $200 or $300 just to sweeten the pot a little bit. And he kept saying, I can do better. And I said, no, we don't play that game here at Frontier Motors. I've already given you the bottom line price. I've already appraised your trade-in. Why don't I just give you this price in writing? And I've already done my research. I've got a program called Price Driver, so I know what every dealer has within our area that's advertised and what they're asking for. So I knew I had the best deal. So I said, the only way that I'm going to convince you that I have the best deal without dropping my price anymore, which I wasn't going to, is here. Take this in writing. Here's an out-the-door price. I got the taxes included. I got your trade-in on there. Why don't you go down the road and go see what they'll do? Guess what? He bought it. He's already done that. He was just trying to work me a little bit more on the pricing, and I did the best I could. And it took a lot longer than it should have because I gave him that price within 15 minutes. And I really don't like haggling. People always say, well, you're a car dealer. You got to haggle. No, I don't. I know what I paid. I know what I'm asking. I know what the book value is. I pretty much can tell you what your trade-in's worth within $300 or $400. If there's any negotiating, might be my opinion on the trade-in. Maybe I'll go another $400 or $500 to put the deal together. But my salespeople will come to me 50 times a day. This is what you're asking, what can you do? This is what you're asking, what you can do. So I know that this is what my asking price. If my cost on the vehicle is $10,000, I might say, well, the lowest I can go on this particular car is $11,300. That's the lowest I'll take for it based on the market. That's still a much better deal than anybody else has. So I'm making money, but I'm not ripping the customer off. And that's one of the things that you're going to get at Frontier Motors. You're going to get the straight scoop. And sometimes I can make a lot of money depending on what I paid for the car. A lot of it has to do with how I buy the car. So let's say I buy a $10,000 car for $6,000. Well, I'm not selling that car for $10,000. I can sell that car for $11,500 because that's what it's really worth, so I'm making a lot of money. But sometimes that $10,000 car costs me $11,000. I'm not going to be able to get more for that car. If it's worth $11,500, now I'm only making $500 based on what I paid. And sometimes if I need that car bad enough, I have a big market for the car, I'll buy that car and just make a little bit. Because to me, a lot of times, not a lot of times, all the time, a little bit is better than nothing at all. And a lot of car dealerships don't look at it like that. A lot of car dealerships are corporate owned where they have to make a certain dollar amount per car or they're not going to sell it. And they look at what they paid for the car. Well, what if they paid too much? Then it becomes not a good deal. And I had this happen the other day on a customer. He says, well, I was looking for a Suburban for a customer and it was taking longer than it should. And one reason, because when I was finding him, I knew what I should be paying, but I was always getting outbid. And it would just happen to be a bad coincidence. And the customer said, well, why don't you just buy it? I said, because it becomes not a good deal. The whole thing about buying Frontier Motors, especially if I'm going to locate your car, it has to be a good deal. If it's not a good deal, it's not worthwhile. And there's a lot of things that we do a little bit different at Frontier Motors. One of the things I wanted to talk to people about is that Dave Ramsey is one of the guys that says, don't buy a new car, buy a used car. And he talks about Frontier Motors and what we do a little bit different. I'm going to share it with you.
Hey, Dave Ramsey here. A great way to help you get that debt snowball rolling is to get rid of those car payments and go see my friends at Frontier Motors. Frontier Motors can help you get rid of your car and down trade it to something you can afford, something that doesn't require making payments. Or if your car is paid for, Frontier Motors can do a free appraisal and just write you a check. Frontier Motors has been giving free car advice in the Pensacola area for over 17 years. This is a car dealership that actually cares about their customers. With over 300 cars and trucks in stock, they are bound to have something for you. Listen, a new car's value drops like a rock the minute you drive it off the lot. Do yourself a favor, go see the guys at Frontier Motors and see how much they can save you on a newer model, gently used vehicle. That's Frontier Motors, located at 230 Beverly Parkway. Just look for the big buffalo out front and tell them Dave Ramsey sent you.
Funny thing is, Dave just said that in 1 minute, what I've been talking about for the last 23 minutes. Maybe I should just have him do the spot. He pretty much said everything that I've been talking about, that we do buy cars. We give great deals on cars. We make it easy. We make it fun. I'll give you a value on your car, whether you buy it from me or not. If you've totaled your car and you want to know what your vehicle should bring through the insurance company, you might want to stop in Frontier Motors, because I think we're the only dealership that I know of in Pensacola that puts it in writing and signs our name to it. A lot of dealerships will tell you what it's worth, but they won't put it in writing because they don't want to get involved in case there's litigation or the insurance company says no, no, no. And I'm not afraid of the insurance company. If I give you a value on a car, I'm not going to exaggerate. I'm not going to devalue it. I'm almost going to be like a house appraiser. I'm going to tell you this is what it's worth, and this is what you should be getting. And I can also give you comps, because a lot of insurance companies these days will say, well, there's one over here available in Texas, and it's $600 less. Well, I can show you 5 of them right around here that are $600 more. So the value I give you will help you get the proper dollar amount. Also, if you've been in a wreck and it's a major wreck and you have a newer type car, you might know what diminished value is, which means what the car worth now that it's been in a major accident, even though they fixed it. So I can help you with diminished value by telling you what the appraisal should be based on a major wreck. Again, that's a little bit. I've only got a couple of minutes left. If you have a computer or if you have a cell phone, Google Frontier Motors, and we're the first one that comes up. You don't need to know the IP address, but just Frontier Motors. And we've got 300 cars in inventory. We've got about 21 to 31 detailed photographs. I think almost all of our cars have prices right now. We might have 10 cars on the lot that we just got that won't have the prices on them because we just bought them. They get on the internet so fast that we'll price them once we have the car and we know what the shipping costs. The other thing that we can do for you folks, if you're going to buy a car off of Craigslist or from a private individual, give us the ID number and we'll do a free history report for you. Carfax, auto check, whichever one you want. We've got them both. We don't charge you. Carfax is quite expensive. We pay one fee. I can run as many as I want. So give me 5 different ID numbers on 5 different cars. We'll run every one for you. Just pop in at Frontier Motors, 230 Beverly Parkway. You never know. We might have a car like that on the lot, so we can also compare pricing. And that's what we'd like to get involved with it, because we know that even if we help you buy a car somewhere else, the next time you buy, you're going to buy from the guys that helped you get the deal. And that's Frontier Motors at 230 Beverly Parkway, 436-8080. Everybody out there, including you, is driving a used car. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
Don't overpay. Come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier. We've got the right price. Frontier. We'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors. Low overhead country.